Your whole life you've been told, when you die you'll take only love with you. That's not the whole truth. You take far more than love. And some of what you take, you really wouldn't want dragging into eternity, because it has weight, literally, and it determines where you end up on the other side. Today we're breaking down exactly what that is, what crosses over with you, what stays behind, and what you're hauling into eternity right now, without knowing it. Stay with me, because one detail from this video will change how you live today. Let's start with what everyone takes, without exception, regardless of whether you believed in any of this or not. First, memory. Complete. Unfiltered. Without the selective forgetting mechanism that operates in physical life. Here your brain protects you. It pushes into shadow what's too painful, what's too shameful, what you'd prefer not to remember. There, that protection is gone. Every moment of your life is accessible with the same vividness as you see this screen right now. Every word you ever spoke, every decision, every moment when you could have acted differently, and didn't. Cayce described this across dozens of sessions. People who have experienced clinical death describe it across thousands of testimonies, not as punishment, as the reality of a new state of consciousness. You are your entire history, without edits, and you carry it with you. Second, your character, your habits, who you actually are on the inside, not who you wanted to appear to be, who you were when nobody was watching. Cayce repeated this again and again. Death does not instantly transform personality. A cowardly person does not become brave because they died. A cruel person does not become kind. A narcissist does not become an altruist. What you have been building in yourself your entire life, that is you, and it goes with you. This doesn't mean change is impossible there. It is possible. But it happens the same way it happens here. Through awareness, through effort, through work. Death is not a magic switch that makes you a different person. You remain yourself, just without a body. And here, the first real story, because theory only goes so far. Howard Storm, an American, a professor of art, a committed atheist, 1985, a perforated ulcer. He dies in a Paris hospital, and what he describes after doesn't resemble any other documented near-death experience. He didn't see light. He didn't see a tunnel. He didn't see deceased relatives waiting with warm smiles. He found himself in darkness, complete darkness, and in that darkness, something came for him. Not angels, entities that began tearing at him, not physically. He had no body. But it was real. More real than anything he'd ever experienced in physical life. And at some point, he understood. He understood that what had brought him there was his own baggage. Decades of arrogance. Decades of contempt for people he considered beneath him. Decades of selfishness disguised as intellectualism. He had brought all of it with him, and he found himself in a space that corresponded precisely to what he had brought. He came back. He wrote a book. He became a minister. Not because he was frightened, but because he understood the mechanism. He understood that the place he ended up was not assigned to him by some external force. He had created it himself, with his baggage, with his life. With every single day, he had lived exactly that way. Cayce explained this mechanism with a precision that makes Howard's story understandable rather than mystical. He said, "On the other side, there is no external judge who decides where you go. There is the law of resonance. You end up where and with whom your vibration matches. This is not punishment. This is physics. A radio receiver tuned to one frequency cannot pick up another. A soul that arrives with a specific set of qualities ends up in a space that corresponds precisely to those qualities." Howard Storm brought dark, heavy baggage, and found himself where that baggage found its company. Now, something most people don't expect to hear. The third item in your eternal baggage, unresolved harm you caused others, not what was done to you, what you did to others, and never acknowledged, never repaired, never closed. Cayce called this karmic debt, and he described it not as a moral category, but as literal weight. Every action that caused pain to another person and was left unresolved, that is additional mass in your baggage. It doesn't go away after the body dies. It waits, and it determines how light or how heavy your transition will be. People who have experienced clinical death describe this during the life review, the experience where you see your entire life and feel every person you ever affected. One woman described it like this: "I saw a small moment from my life that I had forgotten about the day after it happened. I snapped at a cashier in a store, not with real anger. I was just irritated. I forgot about it within an hour. But in the life review, I felt what that woman felt. She walked home upset, thinking about how people treated her like she was invisible. That small moment ruined her entire day, and I hadn't thought about it in 20 years. But it was in my baggage, the whole time." The fourth item, fears you never faced. Not fears that were reasonable, the ones you let control you, the ones that closed off paths that were supposed to be open, the ones that made you live a smaller version of yourself. Cayce said, "Fear is a vibration, and it crosses over, not transformed by death, but exactly as it was in life." A soul that spent its entire existence in constant fear arrives on the other side with that fear intact, and works through it there, just as it should have been working through it here. And the fifth, the most unexpected one, talent and potential you never expressed. Cayce called this an incomplete karmic assignment. You came into this life with specific abilities, with a specific gift that other people needed, and if you didn't express it, not because you couldn't, but because you were afraid, or because you listened to people who said that wasn't for you, then that unexpressed potential crosses over with you, as an unfinished task, as a book open to the same page. Next time you'll open it there, and face the same choice again. Now, the second story, and this one hits harder than the first. Anita Moorjani, 2006, stage 4 cancer, a coma, clinical death, and an experience that completely changed her understanding of what she had been carrying her entire life. She described that in that state, she could literally see her baggage. Not metaphorically. She saw every fear she had accumulated, the fear of being herself, the fear of disappointing others, the fear that she wasn't good enough, the fear that love had to be earned rather than simply received. She saw how that fear was literally creating the illness in her body, how it was transforming into cells that had begun destroying her from the inside, and she saw, with an absolute clarity she had never had in physical life, that all her suffering came from one source, from her inability to accept herself, to love herself, without conditions, without having to deserve it, simply because she existed. When she understood this there, the tumors disappeared here, within a matter of weeks. Medically documented. Oncologists had no explanation. Her story has been verified, published, confirmed. Cayce described exactly this mechanism. Understanding the nature of your baggage literally changes physical reality, not only after death, right here, right now, now. What does not cross over? And this is just as important as what does. Money, obviously. Possessions, obviously. But there's something less obvious. Other people's opinions of you do not cross over. Everything others thought about you, everything they said about you, all the reputation you built or defended stays here. On the other side, it carries zero weight, absolutely zero. Status does not cross over. Your title, your rank, the position you held in the social hierarchy. On the other side, that category literally doesn't exist. Resentments that others caused you, if you released them, do not cross over. This is important, because the harm you caused others that remains unresolved does cross over, but the harm others caused you that you genuinely forgave doesn't. Forgiveness literally lightens your baggage, not metaphorically, literally. And now, the most important moment, the one that made it worth staying until here. Cayce said, "Most people think that working on themselves is about this life. To be happier here, to have better relationships here, to have stronger health here. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. Every decision you make today is literally the packing of your eternal baggage. Every resentment you forgive, that's one item you remove from the suitcase. Every fear you face head-on, that's weight you leave behind here. Every moment you choose to be yourself, your real self, not the version others approve of, that's a vibration you're adding to what will cross over with you. Howard Storm understood this in the darkness of a Paris hospital. Anita Moorjani understood this in a coma while her body was dying of cancer. Both came back. Both changed, not because they were frightened, but because they saw their baggage, all of it, without flattery, and understood they still had time to repack it here. So do you. One final question. An honest one. If you died today, what in your baggage would be the heaviest? Don't think about the right answer. Think about the honest one. An unresolved resentment? A fear that has been running your life for too long? Potential you keep putting off until later? A talent you're afraid to show the world? Write it in the comments, not for me, for yourself. Because the moment you acknowledge it, that is the first moment you begin to change it. And that is the only work that truly matters. Not just in this life, in any life.